Hello and welcome to the Forecast ABC series. In this video, we will look at how you can use the schedule to increase people utilization and gain transparency in your work. Throughout the demonstration, feel free to stop the video at any time to replicate what you see me doing on the screen. That way, you will get to master the platform in no time. With this in mind, let us sign into Forecast and go straight in for the schedule. Now, what you see here is a heat map including all of my team members listed on the left with their roles describing them. And since this view might appear slightly overwhelming, let me filter and focus on a single team member, David Davies, for instance. And I suggest you do the same when working with just a person or two. Simply click on filter and by team member, find the person. A little clearer now. Okay. Now, gaining a quick and encompassing overview of your team members' work is simple. Just click on the person to see the projects and the tasks composing the given project. Specifically, a task in Forecast is an activity or work that your team member needs to accomplish within a given time. Tasks in the schedule section appear as a bar with one corner cut, so it's easy to say what is a task and what is not. Importantly, in Forecast you can monitor the progress of tasks. To see this, consider P10 of mine. Now, incomplete tasks are identified in gray with different shade of colors indicating completion or the level of completion. Now, in progress tasks like this one here are indicated by the remaining hours in a given task. In this case, 2. If I was to click on it, I see the detailed breakdown of 2 hours remaining. So this is my in progress task. And accordingly, since this is 0, this is my finished task. And for your forecast as well, all finished tasks will always appear in green. Then, notice that the heat map, this part specifically, shows me when and to what extent my team member is over, under, or perfectly allocated. And since now you know that, for example, the person is 12 hours under, it'll be easy to assign time to them. Simply go on click allocation, choose a project, for example, P12, and choose hours. Now, just before I choose to allocate David Davies, perhaps you have noticed that P10, which you can see here, is not reflected in my list. This is essentially due to the project settings of a given project. Okay, so P10 must be set to be a task allocation project rather than a project allocation project, and therefore you are not able to see it in the list. And you would have to first change the project settings to be able to allocate a team member like this. If you want to learn more about the different project settings and how to change them, be sure to check out the video on scoping and timeline where I discuss those things in detail. But going back to our original thought, let's just choose P12 and choose to allocate the person. And notice that the heat map changes accordingly here. Also, I can give Dave, or any of my team members for that matter, some of my unassigned tasks. Now, these unassigned tasks are ordered by role, so it'll be easy to match what needs to be done with a given person. Given that Dave Davies is a developer, I simply go for developer, grab the task, and just drag and drop it in place. And now, if I expand it, notice that the two tasks are here. Same applies if you wanted to take a task and put it back into unassigned tasks. Nothing easier. So before we move on to the project view listed here, note that the schedule will reflect team member availability differently depending on the specific calculation type in place. Calculation type and project allocation type are two different things. So let's just now focus on numbers and how things are calculated. As a reminder, you set your calculation tab through the admin panel. So be sure to check out the video on the admin panel if you haven't already. Now, also bear in mind that what you see here is my schedule being set to work with planned calculation. Okay, so on planned calculation settings, I have a task allocation project such as my P10, and in this case, the values are calculated based on the forecast of the task. For example, the projected number of hours it will take to complete the given task. And those values are constant for both past and future in the heat map. Then, if you consider a project allocation project like my P12 here, on planned calculation as I have it now, the schedule will calculate based on the allocation hours over a period of time. And again, this is constant for both past and future in the heat map. And finally, notice that I have two sets of non-project time here. This one, for example, the admin time, which is my internal time, counts towards the allocation of the given person. On the other hand, non-project time off, sickness, for instance, does not count to overall allocation of the person and grays out the schedule. Now, notice how the values will change if I choose to change the calculation type. Okay, so let's go to details and change into actual calculation and go back to schedule. Now you see that the values have changed significantly. All of a sudden the person is not over allocated anymore, but in fact under on one occasion, which is very different from what we have just seen. Now this is because actual calculation differs depending on the period you are viewing, past or future time. Well, but in general, how it works is this. Look again at my P10 here. Okay, so the heat map number shown here and there is calculated from registered hours, and future time, like so, is calculated based on the remaining time of the tasks, such as here. So, in short, if you're working with planned calculation, your heat map will take into consideration estimates predominantly, whereas if you're working with actual calculation, the heat map will reflect and calculate based on the registered hours. So, just to clarify, let us go back to our planned calculation to see changes. And you see now the person in week 47 and 48 is over, not because they have registered more hours than the task involved, but rather that they have been allocated to too much work based on the estimates of the given task or project. As for the non-project time calculations, they are the same as on plan calculation. So now notice the eye icon. See what happens if I enable my totals on. And this is a very cool feature which will help you work with complex work, because a person can, for example, work on not 3 projects but 5. So enable this to see the details as you hover over the given project or a task. I will choose to switch it off for now. And of course, you can easily navigate through time using the selectors, a day in, a period in, and period out. And you can also gain a little bit more overview kind of a view if you zoom out to a monthly view. But in general, I suggest and recommend working with weeks. Perfect. Now let's have a look at the projects page. So this is your master overview of all of your projects. You get to know which project is coming next in a single glance. Projects are in fact organized in ascending order according to the start date of a project. And you get a clear view of everything that goes into your projects. As before, open up to see the milestones and tasks. Now, this is not just a place for an overview. You can also, of course, change things. Say, for example, that you want to push your entire project in time to the future, for example. Nothing easier. Just click on it and you'll be able to drag it into the future and notice how everything else involved in the project, i.e. the milestones and the tasks, they travel with it. You can also move milestones and the tasks within them. So there's a level of flexibility. If you want to learn a little more about timeline and what is it exactly that you can do with it, be sure to check out part 2 of the video on scoping and timeline. Now, from the schedule section in the projects view, at which we are looking just now, you can add, edit, and adjust dependencies. This feature is a visual representation of the relationships between tasks. Now, to add a dependency, simply hover over the given task to see this little icon appear. To begin with, consider, for example, brand design. And notice that I have created one dependency already, shown in the link label here. Now, what I've done here is that I'll set up a dependency so that I have to finish a given task before the other one can begin. So this task has to end before that task can begin. And that's how dependencies work. If you want to see more and get a slightly different description of the relationship, just click on the task to see the breakdown. Okay, and it states clearly, finish T66 to start T67. And of course, I can always choose to remove or edit the dependency. See, for example, what happens if I click on deleting dependency. Now dependency is no more. And if I wanted to set it up, I look for the icon and I connect the two tasks. Importantly, if you were to enable this as I have it now, notice that if I wanted to move two tasks with a clearly defined relationship between them, I can move the whole structure. Contrast this with this option being switched off. Then only one task will move, but nevertheless the dependency stays in place. Now, sometimes Forecast will help you to set up your dependencies correctly. For example, just set one more dependency. So from start to end. Now notice that the link is now red. That indicates that the relationship dependencies relationship are actually wrong or violated. Now if you want to fix it, Forecast can help it. So click on the right click to go to fix dependencies. And notice that now they are stretched in time because this one has to end for this one to begin. So this task has to be put down into the future. And that's how correcting for dependencies function will help you to save some time. And again, if you were to delete the dependency, click on either of the tasks to choose delete. Okay, this is it from me for now. Thanks very much for your attention. Bye.